Hello and welcome to another episode of creating our own React Native crypto wallet. In this episode, I'm going to talk about transaction API. At first, I will show you inside the simulator that we are getting the transactions. And after that, we are going to check the backend API. As you see here, I am getting the transactions on the wallet. I have added a section on the bottom of the page, and when I click on this, it just tells you a little information about it. For example, here says you have sent this much BNB at this time to this address. So now let's go and see how we are going to develop this in the backend side. First, we need to talk a little about blockchain technology. Here, when I just started blockchain development, at that time there wasn't a lot of third-party APIs available. So we have to develop everything from the scratch. I want to show you because I want you to know how blockchain works, but we are not going to take this approach. We are going to take another easier approach, but at the end you should know basics about blockchain. So I'm going to tell you how in real life you can achieve this functionality. So as you see here, blockchain is a chain of blocks. We have block 1, block 2, block 3, and it goes. Inside each block, we have some transactions. For example, we have transaction 1, transaction 2, transaction 3. If we want to check our wallet transactions, we need to check all the blocks one by one. For example, we need to check block 1, go through all the transactions. Then check block 2, go through all the transactions. And if inside any of the transactions, sender or receiver is our wallet or a wallet that belongs to our application, because we have a list of wallets in our database. So if there is anything, we need to save that transaction into database. So as you see by now, you should understand what is the problem, because Ethereum by default, Web3, doesn't provide us an API that we can call and search all the blocks. So we need to actually check each block one by one and search, and that's a very time-consuming process. So in the old time, how we fix this? After we create our application, we create two services here. One service was monitor, so it's monitored the new blocks that are created. And inside new blocks that are created, every time that a transaction added to a block and we see receiver or sender is one of our wallets, we save that transaction inside our own database. And there was another service here that used to query the transactions from our database by wallet ID. This was a very hard process. Also, it was very resource intensive. But now we are going to use a third-party provider that provides us an API that we can pass the wallet ID, and it will give us all the transaction of that wallet in different chains. This is the provider that support BSC testnet that we are doing our development on, so I use that. Here you see the website, it's called moralis.io. You just need to click on get API key. It's free for development. Actually, they have a nice free tier. So let's see. First, I log in. As you see here, now I'm in the dashboard. So let's see how we can use this to query the wallets. First thing first, you need to get the API key. When you logged in, you can just copy your API key, and that's all you need to do, because I will give you the code inside our Lambda So you don't need to do anything else. And as you see, you have 40K in your plan. So it's a lot because I developed whole or backend flow and I just use, as you see, 4.4. So it's 11%. So it's a very nice platform for development. Now let's go to the code and I will show you how we are going to develop this feature. As you see here, I have created another handler called getTransactions. Let's see the handler. It's a very simple handler. Until here, you already know what it does. And after that, we just call a function getValidTransaction and we pass its source address, that is our valid ID. So let's go inside getTransaction. Inside getValidTransactions, we have this code that I actually copied most of it from Moralis website, but let me explain to you. First of all, we need to check if Moralis instance already initialized or not. This is the variable that we should check. If is started is false, it means we need to initialize it. And how we initialize it, we just pass it the API key. Here, you just need to add it to your environment file and you are good to go. After that, let's see. Here we are calling getValidTransactions. The chain property 0x61 is an identifier for Binance Smart Chain testnet. And this is the order and address is the valid ID that we want to query. Then we have some parsing here. Let's go see the response schema. Response schema is an array of transaction schema, and transaction schema is the from address, to address, value, and block timestamp. It gives us a lot of other things, but these are the things that we want to show in the front end. So as long as these four are exist inside the array, we don't care about the rest of it. So let's go back. Now here, if the parsing is not succeed, we just return an empty array. But if the parsing is successful, then what we need to do, just get the last three transactions, because we don't need to send a lot of transactions to front end because we just want to render 3 transactions in the front end. We don't want to render more for now. So we slice the array and we just get last 3 transactions. And here I have a simple map that change the array to a new array that can be understood by our front end. It has from, to, value, timestamp, and state. And at the end, we return the transactions. And please pay attention to this promise.all that I put here, because we have a await get ether here, and this function get ether will return the ether value of the transaction, because the transaction by default is on waits, and we don't want to send the wait transaction to the front end. So because this one have a await, after we map everything, it will be an array of promises. This function promise.all will await all the promises. This function promise.all will await all the promises in parallel. So if you have 10 requests, it fires all 10 requests and wait for all of them to return. And as soon as everything is returned, it returns the value to our front end. And something that I want to mention here, as you see also for Moralis also, I have created its own singleton. So if we need any other functions from Moralis also, we can add it here and access it here. As I told you before, singletons really makes maintaining the code easier. Also, I did some changes inside our services stack, so let's go and see those. It's not something that you don't know already, it's just creating the handler. Let's see here. I have added get transaction handler, and I have passed the variables that we normally pass to our handler. And for the environment, we just need the user's table because we are going to retrieve the user wallet address. And at the end, I have created a Lambda integration that helps us connect to this Lambda. Thank you for watching. This was how we are going to query the transactions from blockchain. In the next episode, I am going to talk about the front-end side of things, how we are going to connect to this Lambda and get the information in front-end and render them to the screen for the user so they can see. Thank you very much. See you in the next videos.